and welcome to the first ever episode of this podcast, Easy Etudes Talks. Over here, we interview many well-known and talented musicians or individuals affiliated with music. This is in order to help show both you and the community the benefits of picking up an instrument and just learning. We will explore personal narratives, opinions of experts, and quantifiable data to show why learning music is optimal for many reasons. Without further ado, let us dive in with our first guest. His name is Liam Gordon, and he has an extremely wide variety of musical experiences and skills. He is the lead trombonist of my school's symphonic band ensemble while being self-taught, and he has experience in marching band shows. He is also a pianist, and most importantly, he has experience performing in jazz bands, where he specializes in improv solos. We will talk about what improv means today. He has also performed in the famous Delta College Music Festival many times, as well as many school venues as well. Here he comes now. Hi, Liam.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good on this evening.
That's great to hear. Over here at Easy Etudes, we like to start off all of our podcasts with the same question. What is your favorite genre of music?
What is my favorite genre of music? Well, there's a lot of genres of music out there, but since I play trombone and piano, which sometimes can mix with other genres like ska, but I prefer orchestral actually.
Orchestral. That's a really unique and interesting genre. What quality, though, of orchestral music do you prefer? Like, could it be yeah, you could go.
Okay. It's the quality I like most is there's so much you can portray with orchestral music because you can get as a bombastic march that can remind you of your nationality, or you can have a serenity that reminds you of a walk in the woods. It
Yeah.
really can be anything that you want it to be.
Yeah. That's a really interesting POV of orchestral music. How do you feel about the fact that all of the instruments are in one piece in orchestral music? Like the large variety of different pieces, instruments in it. Like, for example, you're a trombonist and also a pianist, and there's spots for both trombone and piano in it, but there's also spots for flute, timpani, French horn, oboe, just so many different types of varieties. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's great because you have so many instruments and you can have so many people in one band, which builds a sense of community that you have, where you have one person who has a completely different part and another person playing rhythm or something. You can have all that into one thing, having your everyone else having their individual part working together to create one concentrated piece that you can hear forever.
Yeah,
It's
that's
amazing.
true. It's really interesting. Yeah. Orchestral music is honestly a beautiful way to be able to combine all the different types of music, like brass, woodwind, percussion, and create some masterpiece out of it. Like, yeah, honestly, orchestral music is really great for that. And the way you said, it can express many aspects. On that note, what is your favorite orchestral piece? There are thousands of different types of orchestral pieces. What do you like out of them?
Well, I took a class actually, and it covered history of music all throughout the ages, from spanning from Greek to modern day. And I found something in the Baroque period actually, and it's called Adagio Allegro Adagio. Let me just double check. It is from the Renaissance actually, and it's by Arcangelo Corelli, and
Corelli.
it has this really good sense because you have it the fast, part where it's just the adagio, where it's
Yeah.
you're just going, and it goes so fast, and then allegro, where it slows down in the middle, and then
Yeah.
at the very end it goes speeds up again. Can we do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, definitely. The way that it blends together, not only the instruments, but also the different speeds. Yeah, that is something that makes a piece stick out a lot. Are the Adagio and Allegro parts different movements of the piece?
It is one big piece. It is a I believe it's a 7 minute piece that it's since it's from the Baroque period, you don't really have that sense of Renaissance. Sorry, it doesn't really have that sense of movements that you get from Beethoven and that kind of stuff. It's all
Yeah.
one piece, and it's kind of the same. I don't want to say melody, but same feel throughout, just with different speeds and different adaptations that you get throughout it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Music has a lot of different ways it's expressed. And yeah, that's completely true. The unique forms of expression can really make music something that's completely different from certain other types of arts. And I completely agree with you. But when you learn music, that's on a complete different level from listening to music. Over here at Easy Etudes Podcasts, our main goal is to try to make our community pick up an instrument for its many benefits. What do you think is a major benefit of learning and picking up an instrument, other than it being a fun hobby that you can like brag about to friends or like just some way to pass the time? What do you think music brings to you other than what I just stated?
Yeah. Well, music gives this, we talked about before at the very beginning, it gives this community because you
Mm,
have other people, even if you're playing as a soloist, like on a piano or something, you
yeah,
have the community of pianists and you learn from everyone else. You're not sticking it alone. You have other people that you can count on that you can just build off of each other, which is an awesome community. It's
yeah,
amazing that there are so many people interested in one thing that and they're so interested in helping each other. And that is just so uncommon in this world. But music brings and playing an instrument brings people together, which is
yeah.
amazing.
It is really amazing. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Music is one of the best ways one can build a community, whether it's you're in jazz, marching, or even a soloist, like you stated, a piano community. Do you think, however, do you think these communities that you build, do you think they're maybe the equivalent or even better of sports communities? And how do you feel about that? Like, for example, if you're on a sport team, I don't know, a basketball team, you're also all working together to strive to become better as a team and also as individuals. This can rival maybe like a jazz band. Like, all the trombonists and saxophones and pianists of the jazz band want to get better, just like all the basketball players want to get better. But also, the basketball team wants to get more wins together and the jazz band also wants to produce music, really good music together. How do you feel about this like correlation between music and sports in the community it kind of brings together?
Well, you're talking almost contrasting each other, but I really think they're two sides of the same coin. You have two separate communities, but that doesn't mean they don't have to connect in any way. Somebody who can play, as you said, basketball can also participate in music, even if in short times in between seasons. I mean, it's not an either or, it's an
Yeah,
and that you can do both. You can have two communities, which
that's true.
is most of the time better than one
That is
from
definitely true.
a yeah.
Yeah, music, like I said earlier, is honestly really great to build an awesome community. And there's many different types, like we visited earlier, of ways that music builds communities. Like marching bands, concert bands, jazz bands. I know both you and I were in the jazz band. You were the trombonist, I was the tenor sax player. I want to hear about your experiences with jazz band. How, like, jazz band is one of, if not the band where you make the most friends. I want to hear about your experience making friends and building community in jazz.
Well, it was junior high, I believe, where it was
Junior
jazz
high.
band, and I was first chair there as well, and that was a lot of pressure on me because the music we were playing there, I mean, we were probably playing higher notes than I've ever played at concert band, which I had to push myself for. That was the practice, practice, practice part of it. But you have the friends there who at first, of course, I had two trombonists with me, second and third chair, and
Yeah.
of course, it's a little bit awkward at first. Everybody calling out your mistakes, which can get a bit rough, but once you build up that rapport where you have each other's back, when you have similar parts in the piece, you play with each other and you can count on each other. You build that rapport, you build what you are as a group,
Yeah.
and you usually keep those friends for very, very long. I mean, I know I'm still friends with both of them, and it's it's never broken down. It's never had a problem. If they need help, I help them out. If I need help, they help me out. It's the rapport you make when you play music together, where you help each other out in the music. That applies to the real world as well, most of the time.
Yeah. So, yeah, I completely agree with you on the fact that people can build off each other in music. But also, I completely agree, by the way. There are moments in these musics in these jazz performances, where, as you know, someone has to stand up and give an improvisational solo. How do you feel about the community that brings? And also the other benefits that it gives? Like, I know you've soloed in Bag's Groove, and honestly, it was a great solo. I want to know how your experience with the other trombonists had an impact on that, and also your personal growth, play absolutely rocking it up there with the trombone. How you grew from like someone who didn't know improv at all to like a really great improv player. Like, how did you grow in that? And also, what was your experience with other trombonists?
Well, when you start with improv at jazz, you have to know the scales. So it's a lot of practice beforehand. It's not as easy as standing up and playing your solo because if you play the wrong key signature, you're kind of clashing with the rest of the band, which makes
Yeah,
your improv sound not so hot.
that is
So
true.
it starts out with the practice beforehand, like a lot of things. And
Yeah.
then once you're up there, your heart's going. It's you get adrenaline, which makes it pretty hard to play. But once you get up there, you get a sense of calm, at least for me,
Oh,
and you just play your heart out. You know what you practice, you play like you practice, and as long as you practice well, you'll play good. And as soon as you sit down, and even if it's good or bad, you're always going to have your critics. But as long as you have the two, at least in my case, the two trombones next to me, they'll pat you on the back, say you did a good job, and then we move on. We keep going in the piece. We keep helping each other and we keep going on.
that's really beautiful. Yeah, I completely agree with you. But something you said just stood out to me. You said when you stand up and you solo, there's a sense of calm in your mind. Usually when someone solos, they'll be like, "Ah, I'm soloing. There's 500 people watching me." Um, what do you feel when you're that calm when you're up? Like, how did you achieve that too? And like, what did it feel like? Yeah.
It was it felt awesome, to be honest. It was a kind of you don't think, it's just you don't think you do. It's because the adrenaline is it it it, it stops the logical side, and as I said, you play like you practice. And if you listen to the piece thousands of times, hundreds of times, it you know the piece, you get a feel for the piece, and as we've said before, there's emotion in the piece, so you play the
Mhm.
emotion, and with the scales, and you're good. And key signatures, you know the backbeat because you always have backup in the back while you're soloing, so you have people you can rely on. You're not just up there alone,
Yeah.
and it's just it to get to that sense of calm is the practice. Let's say you go up there without practicing at all.
Oh,
Oh, that's probably the worst
okay.
feeling you can probably have because you know you're going to clash. You know it's going to be. I mean, I remember that probably on my first go. That was a bit rough, but
This was in the rehearsal, by the way. He didn't do this during the performance.
yeah, you remember that definitely.
During the
It
rehearsal, yeah.
yeah, it was rough, but it's also kind of a kick in the rear end. Get it together, man. Get it
Yeah.
together, and once you get it, there is really no stopping you. You just play, and then it becomes fun, and that's
Man,
kind of the key point of playing. It's awesome.
that is really, yeah, that's honestly really awesome. Practice is like the way to make it into the top, to show your excellence to the audience. But there are instances where many experienced musicians, they will practice for months, maybe years. But when they go up, they're gonna still be nervous, they'll have anxiety. They're gonna like mess up due to all the stress in front of the audience. How do you think we could how do you think one could eliminate that feeling? There are going to be the people watching these podcasts are either aspiring musicians or people who who should be musicians who are going to start becoming musicians. And in their life, they are going to have at least solos or solis, and most of them are going to practice out many hours. But but almost all of them will still have anxiety when they go up. How do you think we could eliminate that?
Well, you can't really eliminate anxiety. It's getting used to it. I mean, you're always going to have adrenaline pumping through you when you're in front of an entire stadium or even just a small group. You're still playing for other people, and nervousness always happens. And it's just getting used to that. How many performances you have, you it's you have the people next to you, so you're not alone, as we've said before. And as long as you've had enough of these, because you're always going to make mistakes, that is a key to playing. You don't learn from your successes, you learn from when you mess up and the consequences because of it.
Yeah.
And that shows you where you grow. And once you've accepted that, and you're up on stage, and instead of making a mistake and then you pause for 5 measures,
Oh, yeah.
that's not how you do it. You make a mistake, then you move on. That is how it goes. It's being a musician. Being a musician, you're going to make mistakes in front of crowds or maybe your family members, but you're always gonna be with others, and they're always going to be somebody who can pat your back and say you did a good job.
Yeah. That's really great. There's like no musicians that have ever not made a mistake, whether it's in rehearsals or performances. What's important is that like all the famous soloists like Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, all the famous um, soloists, they have messed up in performances. What matters is that they pick themselves up, and like Liam said, they just keep moving on and use those mistakes to grow to a higher level. So whenever you start a solo, listeners, there are going to be mistakes, but you just make sure that you use those mistakes to make sure there's no mistakes later on. Also, Liam, so you are a very experienced soloist, but you've also had a lot of experience playing in mass bands. For example, you were part of the high junior marching band in our school, which was basically have if you've ever heard of Winter Guard, it's a Winter Guard indoor marching show where he played trombone with many other people to create a show that was themed around underwater oceans. How do you feel about performing in a mass band and like other than the community, of course, like the individual skill that you gain in that process?
Individual skill. Well, as you introduced Pi Junior, I'm gonna start out with a little experience of mine. So I started out, I had no footing whatsoever. I could not dance. I could not do anything. I tried doing the movements, tripped over my feet a few times, but
Oh,
as I walked through it, it was it was good. You start developing the skills. In a mass band, you have other examples that you can go. Of course, that's going back to community, but we'll skip that. But as an individual, you learn very quickly. It is I wouldn't say high stress environment, but it is a where you are incentivized to learn pretty quickly. So our first rehearsal, let's say full rehearsal of the Pi Junior, and I believe, the only trombone there. And of course, with trombone, it is notoriously obvious that you hit somebody in the head with your slide.
especially
And
marching. Yeah.
so I might have whacked a guy in the head. And again, you learn very quickly, don't do that. So instead, you have to learn at playing your trombone at a 45-degree angle into the air, which is not how you normally play a trombone, but
Yeah.
you learn how to, and it worked. And you move on, you get the performance done, and you feel good about it afterwards. If you don't, well, maybe you didn't practice enough. And then you keep working at it. You never give up, and you never, ever just not do anything. You always work on where you can be better.
Yeah. Perseverance and adaptation are really important in marching band, especially when the Pi Junior show, Liam only had a week to prepare for everything. No, no, 5 days to perform for the big show. So adapting at that level is something that every musician should be able to know, and it's a key contributor to how Liam has achieved excellence today. On that note, we've talked about how you've marched around with many people and how you've soloed in jazz, and that's all of your trombone skills. Could you tell us more about your piano skills, how you picked up the instrument and introduced yourself to music theory? Because most of the listeners to this podcast will be will most likely be starting the piano, and that too, they will be beginners. So, would you have any personal experiences you would like to share with the audience that would let them know about what the journey would be like ahead?
Well, piano, it's sometimes said as the easiest, sometimes it's said the hardest. It's just how far you get. So, beginning piano is also learning how to read sheet music. And on the piano, you have the keys, which are easily laid out for you: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and of course the sharps and flats, same thing with different things.
Yeah.
That's how you, depends on how you read it, it's sheet music. But it's developing those beginning skills that is the real big hurdle, starting with reading treble clef, bass, bass clef, and learning those skills. Because I started out on piano before I started trombone, and I was able, once I switched over a little bit into practicing both, it was easy because I could read the bass clef. Of course,
Ooh.
playing the trombone was something different, but piano, I I didn't get very far into it. I will say I am still an amateur in it, and it just is good because it helped also with my improvisational skills. Because on the piano right now, it's over there. I have a chord sheet that I play at. So I am playing chords and I can just do whatever I want with my right hand or my left hand if I'm playing chords with my right. And I just try what sounds right, what sounds good, what sounds not so good, or as they say in the musical world, dissident, which if you like that kind of thing, it's there is a market for it, but it's helped me a lot in producing different sounds and recognizing those sounds.
See, but so you're saying that you learned piano, I mean, you started your improvisational skills on the trombone by experimenting with the piano, right? How how do you think the skills that you experimented on the piano, how do you think you translated to the trombone? I know both are in C, like both instruments are in the key of C, but trombone, there are no keys. You have to slide up and down, change your mouth movements. But piano, you just basically press buttons in a way. Do you think the translation was easy throughout instruments?
Well, it's learning the sound. The trombone is actually sometimes in B flat and sometimes F if you're getting really into it. But the transition, it is a different instrument where you have to change embouchure and it's learning the slide positions, which there is no marking, so it's pretty much work it out. But learning piano first, you can hear the notes. You can, even if you don't have, as they say, perfect pitch or relative pitch, you can still hear generally if you played enough what is a C, what is a B flat, what is so on and so forth, which really helped out because, as I said, there's no markings on the trombone slide. You just have to remember which positions is which, all by muscle memory. And learning that the sound on the piano first, you can work out those slide positions, see what's fifth position, fourth position, seventh position, although usually seventh position is reach your arm out as far as you can. But
Yeah.
it's learning the sounds first, learning the notes, and then with trombone, you can hear the notes and which correlate, and then you find the positions. And of course, this is beginner trombone trying to find the positions, and and then after that, it's kind of on your own with the trombone. That's where the piano ends and trombone begins, because you have to work on your embouchure, but also the speed of the air as it's going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, piano can in fact translate to trombone in that way, like how it first starts out as like developing ear training, and then you're all on your own with trombone. Yeah, I find that POV really a really great way to tell the audience on how to switch instruments. On that note, the audience is looking for tips from you on how to grow into a really great musician like what you are today. You've already talked about tips like staying calm, practicing, consistency, adapting, ear training, like we said. What do you think would other than that, what do you think what do you think learners should also do to make sure they excel as much as possible, like what you have done?
Well, most of the time, you're going to start out with a teacher. And of course, that can be daunting sometimes and sometimes a little frustrating. But the main thing, the key thing that I can give to the listeners is always ask questions. They usually know more about it than you. So, whatever troubles you're going through, ask them a question and they will probably know what's causing it and they'll probably help you fix it. And then
Yeah,
if you're learning alone, I mean, that happens sometimes, you can always call out to a few people who play the same instrument. Let's say at school, you play the piano and you know another pianist. Don't be afraid to ask questions. They may be a little stiff with you, and then you move on, but you can always ask questions to those around you. And it's finding the right people, which is the hard part. But once you find that person, you can ask questions and then you can become and develop more skills, more, you get more efficient with your instrument, if that's the right term. And then
It
you
works.
move on and you become a great, which I don't call myself that. I'm always learning. And that's the key thing. Always learn, always ask questions.
Yes. Whenever you learn music or whenever you do any endeavor whatsoever, curiosity is always key. Never ever forget to ask questions because, after all, it's the people that are better than you that hoist you up to get to their level. And like Liam has stated very well, you should always you should always reach out to others to see their point of view. And even if some people don't answer it that well, finding the best person to help you out would be a really great skill in helping you with your musical journey. Do you have anything else you'd like to say to the audience, Liam?
Well, the main thing that us musicians tell beginners or even advanced people, which I don't say because teachers are scary, but it's always keep with it. Never give up, always keep with it because once you start and you've invested the time, it's always a shame to see someone, let's say, 5 years down and then give up the instrument due to personal reasons. Of course, there's no stopping some, but if you have the time and if you have the resources, I'd say it's a good investment for your future.
Yes, there are periodic gaps in your musical journey where you're gonna be like, I want to quit my instrument. I personally am both a pianist and saxophonist, and there have been moments where I'm like, I hate saxophone. I want to quit this. And moments with piano. Actually, my first 4 years of playing the instrument have been like, I hate this. I just don't want to play this instrument. But that was more of that issue was not with the piano at all, actually. It was more with the instructional method. Once we switched teachers, I realized piano is awesome. It's a great instrument, and I've been continuing it for the next 8 years without any troubles at all. So maybe when you feel like quitting, which will happen in your musical journey, just remember it might not be the instrument, it just might be where you are right now. It was, Liam, today it was really interesting talking to you, hearing your observations about perseverance, practice, adaptation, quietness of the mind, community. It was a really good point of view that I'm sure will shape the musical journeys and maybe even lives of countless viewers watching this podcast. Thank you so much for coming here to speak with us today. It was an honor. Today, Mr. Gordon has been thoughtful, inspiring, and deeply community focused throughout the interview. He emphasized that while good practice and learning from mistakes lead to greatness, a strong musical community provides the support and encouragement needed to grow as both a musician and a person. Honestly, it was a great privilege to talk to Mr. Gordon today, and I hope that every one of you will learn from his experiences and grow into musicians just like him. He was truly a treasure to have. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we learn deeper about the art of self expression and musical maturity, while getting the chance to interview a veteran pianist who is very competitive in local competitions.